this says success isn't permanent, and this says failure isn't fatal. So it basically, for me, it's kind of been like the story of my life. Never get too high, never get too low, which I think is important, you know, especially with this kind of show. If this were to take off tomorrow for me, I ended up being a regular on the show or something to that effect, I would never want it to get to my head, you know. I would never want it to change who I am as a person, and I would never want to get comfortable either, because that's when you start kind of going, you know, steady and maybe even declining. I always want to push towards something greater and constantly progress in my life. So that's that one. And then this right here is my family initials. This says RSVP. And then Together Always. And my mom got us a dog tag when we were 12, when I was 12, me and my sister, and it said RSVP, Together Always, and I lost it. So when I was like 12 or 13, I was like, I'm going to get that tattooed one day. Those are my tattoos. So
I like that. I like that. One thing I want to bring up is your music. Where can fans who are now interested in getting to know you better from The Walking Dead, where can they go to find your music?
It's on iTunes and Spotify.
Okay.
I go by Peter Z. That's my stage name for music. It's just pretty simple because it's my first and last initial. iTunes and Spotify. But if they actually follow me on Twitter, it sends an automatic message with the link. So my Twitter and my Instagram are the same. It's I am Peter Z. So if they just go over there, it'll send them a direct message to the music where they can all check it out.
Awesome. And you've been doing music ever since you were little, I would imagine?
Yeah, music was like the first thing I got into.
Yeah.
I was 6 years old, listening to Eminem. Yeah, I had my little Walkman CD player, and one thing a lot of people don't know about me is that I was kind of a loner. I didn't have a lot of friends, and it's not a pity story at all. I think it actually made me a better person, but I used to write a lot because I would be so lonely, angry, and just like, why don't I have friends? And I would write poetry, and slowly I just started evolving that into rap. And I loved Jay-Z and Eminem growing up, and I just started really listening to them and how they would put words together. And I also sing too, so it's not just exclusive to hip hop. But yeah, that's kind of where it originated from, and I've been doing that ever since I was 6. I taught myself how to engineer, mix, master. So everything that I've done on the album, along with the help of my buddy Marquise, he does the beats, but it's all in-house. We did all the mixing, all the mastering, and we put it together ourselves. So I'm really proud of it. And ironically, the name of the album, this is the second installment, but it's called Kingdom.
Nice.
So I literally had just dropped Kingdom 1.
Yeah.
And then down, I'm going to be part of the Hilltop.
The Hilltop.
There's all through the show.
I like that.
What are the odds, you know?
How about some, I don't want to keep you forever, I know you got things to do, but what about some upcoming events? Are you right now solely focused on The Walking Dead and some conventions, or any other projects, any hints you can drop for us to look forward to?
There's one that I really can't talk about just yet because we're still, you know, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that you can't really put out there right away, but there's a lot of exciting stuff filming wise and music wise. I'm doing a tour hopefully this summer, probably Southeast tour. Conventions, my next booked one is, when is that? I want to say September 7th. That's going to be in Pennsylvania, I believe, 4-state PopCon. Going to England for the first time in October for another convention, and then I have one in California in November. But things to look out for as far as, you know, this summer, I think, look out for the trailer for Walking Dead. I just have a feeling that shit's going to be insane. Working really hard, you know?
So how does season 8 end, by the way, just real quickly? They get nuked. That's terrible. I keep hearing fans, let me run a theory by you. I keep hearing fans say that one day Rick Grimes is going to wake up out of his coma, and it's Andrea's going to be his nurse, Michonne's going to be like, you know, another visitor. What do you think about this theory? Are you in love with it, or do you hate it? You can say you hate it, by the way.
I hate to be that person that said, like, God, that's such an awful theory, and then that's what ends up happening, and then I just look like an asshole because I'm a part of it, you know? But I feel like that would be a holy crap moment. Like, what? Like, that would be so hard to process, just, you know, if they go 10, 12 years, and then all of a sudden it's just a dream. That would probably take me the rest of my life to just process. Like, what the fuck is that?
I'd quit life. I'd be like, listen, I'm done. No mas. Is there anything you, off the top of your head, have for the fans? Anything I might have missed that you wanted to get out?
I just got a Facebook page. I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but I did just get it verified, so I'm trying to get everybody over there. And it's basically it's facebook.com/I'm Peter Zimmerman. So I'll be posting a lot of updates on there, along with Twitter and Instagram. Obviously, a lot of stuff I can't really get into. I am working, and I'm shooting a lot of videos coming up for the album. So when you guys check that out, hopefully, give me your input, tweet me, tell me how you feel about certain songs, and maybe those will be the ones I decide to shoot videos for. Shows coming up, Southeast region. And then there's about 10 or 12 cons that are like pending right now. So a lot of people have been asking, about certain cities and whatnot, and they're all over the place. So I'm not allowed to announce those until they're officially signed, but I have a feeling that this summer is going to be full of cons. So along with the music and working on set, I think that'll also be in the mix as well.
That is one thing I left out. I'm glad you brought it up. For anyone listening, I will put as many links as Peter has. I will put all the links in the video description, so you could just click on that. It'll take you right to his Facebook page and everything. And the cons was something I completely forgot about. When you get confirmation, you're going to be posting, I assume, a little announcement on the Facebook page and the Twitter, so people following will know.
Correct.
Awesome. One thing I was also personally curious about is what's the anxiety like being the Walking Dead's a big show. A little bit, a lot. I mean, does it range? Does it give or take? The family atmosphere, does that help soothe that a lot? What's that like on set?
Anxiety in terms of like, am I gonna die?
Just being on set alone, knocking your performance out, kind of.
It's so laid back, man.
Yeah.
It's, as a matter of fact, out of everything I've worked on in my career, and by the way, I'm 25. I don't know. I want to tell people that because a lot of people are like, well, what has he done? And what? I'm 25. So the first job I ever did, I was in high school, 17, and it's been 8 years since then. So I'm just putting that out there because a lot of people, for some reason, think like, on The Walking Dead, he had to have like all these movies in it. No, man, this is still very fresh for me. So, I'm excited to be a part of it. I've worked really hard, but yeah, I wanted to put that out there. But anyway, anxiety on the show, it doesn't exist because, like you said, it's such a family atmosphere. For example, when I did the scene with Lauren Cohen for episode 15 last season, and we're planting our vegetables and whatnot, it was hilarious because obviously we're sitting there and we're like, what the hell are we doing with this? Her and I were both just like kind of, okay, am I supposed to, okay, did we do this? And it was just so funny watching her like explain to me how to farm. Yeah. And Lauren Cohen's really good about just making everything light, and she kept doing her paragraph of or her monologue of directions to me, and every take was kind of different, and sometimes she would mix the order around. So just seeing her being so comfortable and being so okay with, maybe messing up one take or doing it different made me so much more at ease with what I was doing. And not to mention, like, the crew. You have, a lot of people don't know this, but when you're shooting a scene, you have like 40, 50 people standing behind, the cameras. So you're not just performing for the cameras. I mean, you are, but you have a lot of other things going on around you. So, and those guys are very cool about just not even here. Yeah. Do what you do. It's such a family atmosphere, and it's, that's really it, man.
I think that's really incredible.
It's fun. It's family. It's like shooting in the backyard of your house. That's what it feels like.
Truly, I think that is absolutely incredible. You have a show that is just a ratings monster, Even on a bad day, they are kicking ass with the ratings. Yet on set, you have an atmosphere that is, I think, in a way, thinking about it now, that's got to definitely be a positive thing for you guys as actors on set, having that atmosphere that is, so flexible. It's not, I better get this right or else that's a wrap,
Yeah. Yeah, and the pressure's still there. Obviously, you want to do well, and obviously, especially after last season, when episodes start airing, you realize, okay, like this is pretty nerve-wracking. The most nerve-wracking part is not being on set and filming; it's watching yourself on TV, because I'm watching it at the same time you guys are. Unless we do ADR, which is where you go into a recording studio and you dub over your voice or stuff like that, you're not seeing any of the footage until it comes out. So for those moments, 6 months, 7 months after the fact, that you're really making sure you kill it for. You're not trying to impress anybody there. You're doing your job. It's so easy to be a part of that world, because the hilltop feels like the hilltop. The apocalypse feels like the apocalypse. The walkers feel like walkers. It's the result. What do I want 15, 20 million people to think of me when I'm on screen? That's what I have in the back of my mind when I'm doing these scenes and when I'm practicing and coaching and getting coaching for certain dialogues. I've been more nervous on other jobs just because it's kind of like that whole, like, you had one job type of feel. Like, you better not screw this up because you had one job. So like, if you're on a show for one day and you have one scene and you screw that scene up, it's like, dude, you have one job. That's where it gets nerve-wracking. When you're not affiliated with any of those people for anything else other than just that one scene you're a part of. That's where it feels like.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, you said that you're a nerd and geek and all that. Before The Walking Dead, did you like zombies? Did you like the zombie genre?
No.
No?
I didn't, because I'm kind of on the bandwagon with what everybody else, the whole typical mindset is of zombies. It can either be done really cheesy or it can be right. And I think, in my opinion, Walking Dead is the first show to do it right. To where it feels like this could actually happen. If there was some sort of virus or outbreak, this could actually happen. This feels real. I'm a very realistic type of person. I'm a huge fan of Christopher Nolan with the Dark Knight trilogy, because he made Batman seem like Batman could exist in Chicago or New York, and the Joker, Heath Ledger, feel like this is just a crazy crazy guy who could really do this. This is what I like about The Walking Dead, is it just feels so as real as a zombie can feel. It feels so real. So I wasn't a huge fan of it before, just because maybe I didn't, I couldn't list a list of zombie movies I watched beforehand, but I just feel like everything I had watched previous to The Walking Dead, it felt a little overdone or maybe not believable.
I think that is absolutely understandable. One thing I talk about a lot is being a concept fan. When it came to the zombies, and I still get heat for this too, I was the same as you. There's a ton. I love the concept of the zombies and coming back and all that, yada, yada, yada. But what we got growing up, the movies, you're right, they were cheesy and the characters were one-dimensional. Bad guy was, bad just for being bad. And The Walking Dead being grounded in reality, I think that is what, for a fan, that's what drew me to it, made me fall in love with it almost immediately. Did you watch the show live with the very first season, or because I know some actors have, they started in season 3 or they started in season 4 and then binge since then? Was this something you caught when it was fresh, or did you come in a couple seasons in?
I had watched up to season 2 previously, and then break. Then when I booked it, I went back to season 1 and I watched Walking Dead for, it felt like forever, because I was trying to get caught up, and then I did watch season 6 live with the rest of you guys, and ever since then I've been watching it live. And I get just as excited, for each episode, and next week on AMC.
Who's some of your were you a Shane fan or no? Fan of Shane or no? Like,
I like Shane, man. I'm not gonna lie, I really like Shane. He was great for the story, I think. He was for the development of a lot of people on that show, especially Rick, obviously. But I kind of see it as like Shane is kind of the one that gave Rick the balls that he needed to really be the Rick that he is now. He had that edge to him, and don't get me wrong, Rick had ball. I don't like saying that, but Rick already was a badass beforehand. But I think he kind of, him being in that story gave him that edge to really lead people into the right direction after the fact. But no, Shane, just from a performance perspective, was one of the most entertaining characters to watch, because He was so unpredictable. You never knew what he was going to do. He also treaded that line of good and evil, and it's like, I really like this guy. I really like him. I really want him to do well, but at the same time, he's doing all this messed up shit on the other side. But he's so good with Carl, and he's so like, he was one of the most interesting characters on the show. I'm a fan of Shane for sure.
Absolutely. Being on set, seeing I know we just talked about the zombies and stuff, but being on set and seeing the zombies, what kind of experience is that up close and personal? I mean, can you see a lot of you're looking behind the curtain, so to speak, but a lot of them, even from the behind the scenes videos, they look really, really good, even behind the scenes. Are there moments where you're just in awe looking at the creative work they do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything feels so real. Like there's really no acting involved because it feels like that. But I will say, people don't know this, or some people don't know this, but you have what's called hero walkers, and then your regular walkers. And hero walkers are the ones that are closer to the camera. So I think they'll spend more time with prosthetics and things of that nature. Greg Nicotero and his team will make sure that those are the ones that look, that they have their specific, look. And then you'll have more in the background that maybe didn't spend 10 hours in makeup, but still look, pretty real for the setting. But yeah, they look freaking real. They look freaking scary. And the funny thing is too, is they kind of stay in character the whole time. So even when you're on break and you're going to get food and they're just there, walking around, like, it kind of makes it like, okay, walkers are cool because they're just eating a bag of Cheetos with you over here, but they're still walkers. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty interesting experience. So.
Now the conventions and the aftermath of being on The Walking Dead, that's something, is like you were stating before. You're just kicking this career off. I mean, you're not a veteran. You're not 40, 50 years old, been in the business for years. The conventions with The Walking Dead, is that new to you from The Walking Dead, or were you involved in them? That is new then?
100% new, yeah. I didn't start doing conventions until second half of season 7. And part of it is because Eduardo wasn't recognizable enough to be at a convention. I mean, we'll just be honest about it. When you're there, conventions are a business, so they're drawing people in to see somebody that they know from the show. So I got a booking agent around season 7, episode 8, in the later half. And then when episode 15 aired, episode 16, that's when the conventions really started being successful for me. More successful than they had been. It's still brand new. I've done 3 or 4. They're all different. That's one thing that I've noticed. Every convention is different, but they're all fun. And, like I said, it's still so mind-blowing to me that people will, and it also depends on what city you're in, but people will spend their hard-earned money to take a picture with you or to buy an autograph. And it just really makes you, I come from a family where, we've been poor and, we've worked hard, and people that have that take their hard-earned money to go on a weekend and spend money just to see somebody that they admire on TV or whatever, just blows my mind, and I don't think I'll ever really get used to that. So that feeling is still new, and even having fans is still, to this magnitude, is still new. But I love it. It's keeping me on my toes, and it's the best feeling in the world, to be honest. So.
That is awesome. Now, to some degree, I mean, your charisma, not just the character, is, from what I can see, is definitely playing a huge role in making Eduardo and you yourself more popular than maybe Eduardo was previously. I mean, when you see that, are you ever afraid that, oh man, because I see your tattoos and I see how humble you are. You seem cool as shit. Do you ever just keep it in your head like, all right, don't let it go to the head. I don't want to be that guy. Is that...
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'd be the typical, and I've seen some of your live videos too, and let's be honest, people right now, what they have to base off of me and my character is, oh, Eduardo's the hot guy on the show. He's the guy who's on the show. He's the guy who, I've never strived to be the hot guy. I've never strived to be, I want to be known for my acting. I want to be known for being an interesting character. I want to be known for, kicking ass in The Walking Dead. Right now, at least, so I never want to get comfortable with where I'm at. And I think with the little bit of success that I've had so far on the show, you know, and even reaching when I finally got to 10,000 followers on Twitter, that was a big moment for me because I've been, you know, working so hard on that for years. It made me more humble because I know what it took to get there, you know, as opposed to somebody who instantly got, you know, 30,000 followers overnight. I don't feel like you can really appreciate that climb, you know. There's so much more that I want out of who I am. I feel like I'd be the typical candidate for that guy to be, you know, an arrogant, you know, conceited, all about himself, good looker. And I want more than that. And I want people to see that about me, you know, which is why I was excited about doing this interview with you. I want people to see my personality and know that everything I am right now to you is who I am in real life. And I'm going to carry that with me all the way until wherever this takes me.
Awesome. 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 Being a good looker, though, or being in season for right now, that might not be such a bad thing, because I was just thinking back. Leonardo DiCaprio was, I mean, when I was little, he was just the hot kid, right? But then, look at that. His talent, man, started shining through, and now I think people, when they mention him, it's solely focused on his talent and not so much as his looks. So I think with what you're saying, yeah, I think I'm behind you. I'm supporting you. You know,
Thank you. Thank you.
He's not just a pretty bitch, guys. With the challenges on set and remembering your lines, how difficult is that actually?
For me, it's I'm not gonna lie, it's not hard because, and I don't know, it's something in my brain that just is the way it is. Anytime I see a script, I read it through a couple times, and I always have to have somebody reading it with me. But what I do is I kind of just, I know it's gonna sound like duh, but I get into the scene and I actually think about how this character would respond, obviously with what's written down. But I start to say, okay, why does this line make sense? Why does this line make sense? Why would I say this? Why would I say this? And then once I process it like that and break it down, and I've read it a couple times, obviously repetition helps, it becomes really easy for me. Because now I'm not thinking about words, I'm thinking about how I'm feeling. I'm thinking about what I'm saying. I'm thinking about how I should be responding to this sentence and this sentence and this sentence. So it's never been hard. It was hard when I was 10, 11 years old doing auditions, but now that I've done it for so long, I feel like it's just about breaking it down and really understanding what you're in that moment. But, you know, I honestly feel like that's a gift, you know, not to be conceited about that at all, but I just feel like for some reason I can process it like that, and you can give me pages and I'll just be able to do it. Luckily on the show, as you guys know, it hasn't been too much to remember.
How about the heat? The heat is a popular topic. I know in, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you in a hoodie and a jacket?
Yeah. It's funny, there's a scene in 708. It's the first scene of the episode where I'm telling Gregory, like, dude, she's pregnant. Give her the apple. I'm not 100% sure because I never asked, but I'm almost convinced because they had a camera right on me for that scene, but it was so hot that day and I was wearing a hoodie and a jacket and a shirt and I was sweating my ass off. It was 110 degrees. And I'm sure that they ended up using the wide angle because there was so much sweat in my eyes. They're just, you know what? Do we have a wide shot of Peter? Okay, let's use the one where we don't really see him because he looks gross.
Oh, that's
it's bad. It's very bad. And I'm probably the one most dressed for winter in that show. Up there. It's a thick hoodie and it's a thick jacket, and I already sweat profusely regardless. So.
Now, you said you are from Georgia, or you've just been living in Georgia. Okay, so you are. You're definitely used to the heat. I mean, no one's used to being bundled up in heat, but you are used to the weather and the temperatures then.
Oh, yeah. I'm used to it. I mean, and I was born in Miami, so it's probably even hotter down there. But, you know, I'm used to it. And one of those things you don't really think about when, obviously, if you're out there working in the sun, you know, and you're doing construction or, you know, cutting grass, you feel it a lot more than if you're on The Walking Dead. So it's one of those things where you deal with it, you know. It's like, it's the best job in the world, whatever, I'm sweating, it's cool. But it shows, it definitely shows. So I know hair and makeup will come up to me all the time and they'll just hand me wipes. Like, yo, Pete. What, dude? I'm like, I know, I feel it. Yeah, even with the pollen in Georgia, you know, especially this time of year, like, you walk outside, and if you're not on your allergy pills, you will be instantly screwed for the next couple weeks. And that's another thing that I've had to really make sure I'm on my A game for. So.
Now, when you said pollen, I know I'm from Pennsylvania. We don't deal with that shit up there. But when I moved down to North Carolina, I came out one day and there's this like yellow dust everywhere. I mean, everywhere, and I was like, "What in the fuck is that?" And my eyes started burning again. I'm like, "What in the fuck?" Do you guys get that? Do you guys get that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Same thing. You go to any parking garage or any parking lot for that matter, and every car is covered in yellow dust.
That's probably that's a stupid topic, but that was the first thing I thought of because we don't see that shit up north. We don't get that. And once I moved down south, I was shocked. You know, just absolutely shocked. In the comic book, they have different seasons, obviously, on the show. How excited would you be if they were to film a couple episodes taking place in the winter?
I'd be so excited about that. I was actually just talking about that the other day, and I was like, how cool would it be if we shot this in the snow? Number one, I think it would just give the show a whole different feel, a darker feel almost. And obviously, for weather purpose, I mean, I'm built right now with my wardrobe for the winter. So, but you know, you watch Game of Thrones, and a lot of that's shot in the snow, and like how epic do those battle scenes look?
Oh yeah,
in the snow, you know, especially blood, the way it looks on all white versus grass or dirt.
Absolutely, I think that's one comment I still get maybe every single week, no matter what, without fail. And you know, previously I thought it's just never going to happen, but now I'm thinking, you know, if we bring it up as much as possible, maybe one day, maybe one day we will get some snow. Now, with the comic books, are you staying with the story, or is your schedule a little bit too tight to where maybe you go back and visit it? Like, are you current?
Sort of current. What I do is I've actually watched a couple of your videos for this. Yeah. I've checked out your reviews. I don't get to make it to the comic book shop a lot. I did buy issue, was it 95 or the first Hilltop episode?
Yeah, around 95, because Jesus was introduced in 92, and I think it took 3 issues to get there. So
whatever the first Hilltop one was, just because my mom wanted to frame it and I wanted a copy of it.
Yeah, because 96 is the what in the comic book.
Okay. So yeah, whatever the first one was, I ended up buying that, and something I've been meaning to do this summer is actually get the compendium. But no, I keep up with the reviews, and I'm not up to date just yet. I know what was it, 168 that just came out?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I haven't caught up on that one yet, but I definitely like to keep up with the story just because it kind of gives you a little guideline of where it might be headed. Obviously, they remix a lot in the show, but it's good to keep up, and it's just standing alone as a comic book. It's great, so it's always good to follow that.
Now, I mentioned the comic book because in the TV show, as you know, they do a lot of remixing between the comic and the TV show. And I was wondering, as an actor playing somebody from the comic, how has it been juggling whether or not your character will be remixed to a more in-depth or different, maybe even a completely different type of role later in the season compared to, oh my God, he might die tomorrow? You know, is that a difficult thing to juggle, or do you stay so focused it's an afterthought?
I do stay focused. I wouldn't say it's an afterthought. I mean, I'm constantly keeping up with what's going on, and I'm constantly, doing my job and making sure that I'm 100% on that level. But no, I mean, in this industry, especially when you're filming, we'll shoot for 2 days and we'll be off for 5, and then we'll shoot for 3 days and be off for 10, and you have time to think. You have a lot of time to speculate, and it's definitely something that you've seen in the past with characters being remixed from, maybe even characters who weren't in the comics to stars on the show. It's definitely something that's not avoidable to think about. I think about what could be all the time, and I get excited about that. So I know where Eduardo has been in the comics, and I know kind of what his storyline is and his arc, or well, I'm not sure if we'd even call it an arc, but he's been in the story, and I kind of know what he's doing, and I'm interested to see if they stick with that, or if they do some other things. We'll see. It's definitely something that I think about.
Nice. Sure. As a fan, I'm definitely pulling for a lot of the Hilltop characters. Jesus is a given. He's a given. He's I think he's one of the more known, more consistent, you know, Hilltop character, even more so than arguably Gregory, and he's the leader in the comic book. But I think that's because he was such a prick. Everyone's like, fuck Gregory. But which by the way, Xander Berkeley, what's that like working with him? Because that's Gregory off the pages. I mean, that son of a bitch, it's scary.
Gregory, Xander's the funniest, one of the funniest people I know on that set, because, and it's what the funny thing about him is that he's not even trying to be funny.
Yeah.
I remember the hardest I laughed on set was he was rehearsing the apple scene, 708, where he was like, "Don't let it get to your head, Maggie. Yeah, I'm gonna eat this apple." And just the way he was doing it, and him and Lauren Cohen were kind of going back and forth, and I'm just sitting there watching their interactions. His facial expressions are what make him hilarious, because really, like, yeah, I'm a dick and I don't care. Like, it's his face. Like, his face just reads, like, this is who I am. You don't get it? Yeah. Like, it's just, I laugh all the time just because of what he's doing with his face. And if you see him, like, do a scene ever, nothing is the same. Like, take 1 to take 20, all 20 of them will be different. And when he's not filming, what makes him funny is the fact that he's just, he talks to himself a lot. You know? He's almost in his own little corner just doing, I don't know if he's rehearsing lines or if he's talking to himself or whatever, but he's like he's in his own little world. So yeah, he's such a cool dude. If you look on Twitter, me and him kind of go back and forth sometimes, and he'll call me Ed Weirdo. There was a shirtless pic that I think I posted a while ago, like maybe before I was even on the show, and somebody tweeted it, and it got retweeted, and then retweeted again, and it got around to Xander Berkeley, and he kind of like, he was like, put a shirt on, Ed Weirdo, and like this season, I think him and Stephen Ogg and Austin Emilio had a shirtless pic.
I seen that.
And I called him out on it, and it was funny because we just went back and forth, just talking shit about, you know. Well, now you're doing the same thing I am, Xander. So what? So you know, it's, have a pretty cool like back and forth going. It's such a cool guy to work with.
You know, you're young yet, and you're perfecting your craft. When you look at somebody like Xander or you know, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Andrew Lincoln, everyone else on the cast, how much are you pulling from there? Are you also you know, picking up advice and tips along the way just by obviously watching, because some of their performances on The Walking Dead are, for a zombie show, just outstanding, just incredible.
100%. I think my best way of taking in information is by watching, and there's no better acting lesson than being on set watching an actor do a scene 20 times. Like I was saying, Xander Berkeley did it 20 different ways. Andy Lincoln, same thing. He will give, because you got to think about it from editing perspective, and the director and the producers, they want variety. You know, it's not about getting it perfect every time or even getting it how you think they want it. It's about giving them stuff to work with. That's, I think, the biggest thing I've learned on the show as an actor is, you know, the tone in your voice on certain words, switch them up, you know, and try it like this, and maybe come at it from a different subtext than you did in the scene previous. Andy Lincoln's a master of that. You know, I've seen him do a number of scenes now where it's just like, what is this guy, what is he thinking? What is his, you can tell what his motives are. You can tell what he's thinking because of the way he's saying the words, and it's so believable because he is Rick Grimes in that moment. It's hard to explain it. I'm kind of just throwing. Oh
no, I think that's fucking fantastic.
It literally is an acting lesson just watching them work, because they break down a scene, even beats, you know, like beats between words, or between, like, you know, pauses and stuff like that. Like, those are the little things that I just watched, and I'm just like, how powerful was that beat? It wasn't even a word, it was just a pause. Or even the way he looked to the right when he stopped for a second, just to draw attention to that, and then came back to that word. Or even, there's so many little things that you just pick up on that have helped me moving forward, that have just been like, yeah, I get it, you know, because it's something that you have to understand. You have to actually get. You can't just look at a script and be like, Andy did it like this, so I can try it like this, and I can try this word like. No, you have to feel the way he was feeling. I'm not doing Rick's lines, but I have to feel how Eduardo is feeling in that moment, and that's where breaking down a script, where they've been amazing in that aspect from teaching, you know. So
as a fan, that's probably my all-time favorite stuff to absorb is the behind the scenes. I love the commentaries and everything like that. For those little telltale signs, those tidbits, those little nuggets of realism. I remember in episode 1, I don't know if you ever go back and rewatch episode 1, there's a moment where they take Daryl and Negan, and I think this, for anyone getting into acting, I think this is probably one of the best scenes to watch over and over. Negan doesn't know Daryl's name, so he taps the bat into the ground as he's thinking, and you can see like the character himself, Negan, actually thinking, and he looks up to Stephen Ogg's character, Simon, and Simon, it's as if he's daydreaming, and he looks off to the side and he's like, oh, wait a minute, Daryl. And, you know, if you look at that performance, and it's exactly what you're talking about, if he just said Daryl immediately and he didn't have that moment, that beat, that pause, you know, because just that 2-second beat made it seem like this is something that Simon has seen so much. He's bored and daydreaming, and he has to look up to break his daydream. I think what you said, yeah, I love that type of stuff. Absolutely do.
For example, finale of season 7. When he's kind of just sitting there, you know, him and Carl are in front of Negan with the bat, and he's just, you could tell he's and a lot of people I know a lot of fans have talked about, was he not going to save Carl? Was he not going to do anything? And the way that it played on screen, the way it played on set, was this guy is just so, you got to think about what Rick has been through. Like, he has lost so much over 7 seasons, but what really has been, you know, not a lot of time. And he's processing. Like, you could just see it in his eyes. His eyes are watery. Obviously, he's emotional, but he's not even there. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not even there. He's in a different place mentally. And I mean, what kind of crazy person says, I'm going to kill you when you're about to be killed? Like, when they have every advantage over you, like, you could just tell. I think that's where the acting is brilliant, where he's just like, he truly believes he's going to kill you in that moment. So, you know, that was one of those that I got to experience a couple times. I was standing, because that's right before the hilltop comes in and helps, you know, with the fight. But I just got to watch that from the sidelines for an hour or two, and I was just like, wow, like, you know, and then you add in the element of music and all the stuff that just makes it that much more amped up.
I love that stuff. That is awesome. Now, that final moment you just brought up in season 7, obviously there's a lot of action going on. Was that a complicated scene to get down for all the movements?
Yeah. And you know what's funny too is, I'll talk about the scene first, but there's so many pieces. It's like a choreography for a dance number. You know? Every piece has to move together, and you know, it's got to be all synced up, and it's all about timing and stuff. But yeah, it was a puzzle piece, because you had, I think, the most actors you ever had on set at one time. You had Kingdom, you had Hilltop, you had horses, you had all the saviors, you had the scavengers. You had so many people there that you just had to coordinate. So it was, even for me, and I was on the back half of that episode, it was still a 4-day shoot for me. So you got to think they spent the other 6 days just leading up to this point, just with all that choreography. So yeah, it's definitely something that they sit down in production meetings and talk about how it's all going to sync up together, how it's going to work, and there's so much that goes behind just making all that happen. Funny tidbit, I almost got hit by a horse. It was my fault, but scariest shit of my life. It's where we're all leaving we're all running towards the gates of to chase Negan off in the truck or whatever. Okay. And horses are just flying by. And it was, I think, the first or second take. And I'm just a dumbass, like, in the middle of the street while everybody's hugging the walls. Yeah. And I just felt the horse just, like, right by me. And I was like, dude, if I had been 2 inches to the left,
see, you almost...
That was one of those funny after the fact.
Yeah.
I was going to say real quick. So episode 16, I got invited to the rap party for season 7. And the way it worked was I was supposed to shoot that Friday. The rap party was on Saturday. They pushed my day back to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, my days. Tuesday. So I had to go to the rap party before I went to set. And I was kind of looking forward to going to set first so that I could kind of reacquaint with everybody. And, you know, I had worked with Andy Lincoln and a lot of them, you know, Deny and all those people since like season 6. Yeah. So, you know, you never know if they're going to remember you or if they're going to, you know, that kind of thing. Obviously, they've seen you before, but it's kind of one of those, like, Oh yeah. And a rap party, if you've ever been to one, it's a lot of people, and it's a lot of people they know already. So my big thing was I always told myself I wanted to take my mom to my first event, and that's what I did. I took my mom. My mom's a huge Daryl Dixon fan. I'm sure a lot of women are. So she wanted to meet him and Denai and all those people, and we got there. And I just told her, I was like, listen, like, you know, there's Greg Nicotero, Scott Gimple, Andy, Father Gabriel, or Seth, all of them standing in a circle. I was like, listen, like, we got to tackle this one by one, because if I walk into that group right now, there's a chance that all of them might not remember Eduardo from the show. And I don't want that for either of us. Yeah. So it was just hilarious the way that whole night went down. And they all ended up remembering me, which was great. And even Andy Lincoln was telling my mom, it's like, yeah, your son's awesome. He saves my ass. He saves my ass in the finale. I can't wait to shoot that shit. He was so cool. And,
yeah.
And then when we got to set on Monday, this is the most Walking Dead family moment I've had on the show. Literally everybody that I saw at the rap party, which was most of the main cast, all came up to me individually and just said, how did your mom enjoy the party?
Really?
You know, they all took pictures with my mom, and it was great, and me too, but they were all about, you know, they saw that I was trying to do that for my mom, and they saw that I was bringing her out to my first event. They're like, how'd your mom like that? Did she have a good time? Did she, you know? And it was just such a warm, we really know what's going on with you, we care about you, we want to know how you're doing type of moment, you know?
That is great.
Lenny James, too, just a side note, one of the sweetest guys you will ever meet. All of them, they're just so present. They're so there. You know, you have people that talk to you sometimes and you can tell they're not really, their mind's not focused on your conversation. Every single one of them, no matter what's going on around them, they're just so present, which is amazing.
That is incredible. The more and more I hear about the cast and crew of The Walking Dead being like a family, I mean, some of it is just like, it's mind-blowing, you know? I don't know. It's just, I think it's amazing. I think that is wonderful that they did that and they remembered and they knew. Because your mom would have done exactly what my mom would have done. She would have been like, I want to meet the cast. Where's Daryl?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm excited about, you know, now that I feel like a part of it, you know, I've always been one of those people. I'm very realistic, you know, almost to the point where it's almost pessimistic, you know. So now I've gotten to a point where I just feel so connected to everybody there, and, you know, Lauren Cohen was one of the first people to hear my new album. I thought that's a story I'm going to tell to my grandkids one day. I just, you know, she loved it, and she listened to it and dancing to it, and I was just like, is this really happening? It's like those things where you're just like, is this real? Is this, you know? And yeah, these are moments that I'm just like, I feel so, I feel like they're real now. I'm starting to feel like they're real.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel like I belong, and it's such a great feeling.
Me as a fan, I love hearing that, because it makes the show feel like something more than just a zombie show, you know?
And I'll tell you firsthand, like, every single person on that show is who they are when they're in front of cameras and when they're in front of, you know, fans, and it's genuinely who they are. I mean, I was, you know, when they do these Walker Stalker conventions, and there's no, oh, I have to do this, I have to make this appearance, so I have to be here. No, it's exciting. They're excited to meet fans.
Sometimes cast and crew, they get something from set. What about anything like that? Like, obviously, Jeffrey Dean Morgan isn't bringing home Lucille every friggin' night. But is there anything from Eduardo, maybe anything we don't know about, maybe we don't see? Obviously, you're not going to bring a staff or a spear home, you know, but is there anything from the character, from the set, anything involved? I can't really think of anything there would be, but just in case there is there anything like that?
There is. You're talking about things I've been able to take, like a souvenir?
Yeah. That's what we're looking for.
Not the spear. You remember I think it was 14 of last season where we're throwing knives?
Yeah. With
Aggie and Enid are throwing knives. Yeah. So the person who taught us how to throw those knives, this is another funny story, Zach Brown from the Zach Brown Band, big country superstar. I mean, I always knew the name. I never knew the face with the name. But it's funny because a lot of the girls on set were just like, oh my God. And all of us are just kind of like, well, the guys who didn't know who Zach Brown was, were just like, what's going on, you know? And, you know, he's a good-looking guy. He's a built guy, and he's got a beard. He's got, like, that whole, like, rough, you know, vibe going on. But he was the one training us how to throw those knives, and before we actually shot the scene.
Is it a country a country singer superstar?
Yeah, Zach Brown.
That just seems a little odd. I would be taken back to a country superstar is teaching the Walking Dead guys how to throw knives.
Yeah,
That's pretty neat.
He's from Georgia.
Yeah,
and he's a fan of the show, and he owns. I don't want to butcher this, but he owns like a knife / axe making factory, something to that effect. But anyway, he gave 3 of the actors knives axes that he made.
Really?
So he gave me 2, and I gave 1 to my mom. But yeah, I have it in the shadow box. But yeah, it's cool. It's like something that he actually made. I didn't know who he was until he drove off.
No kidding. What's the symbol on there?
I don't know. I didn't get a chance to ask him. Like I said, he got in and got out. But this is an axe made by Zach Brown.
And that is definitely a throwing axe.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is I gotta be careful with this.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is too, like when you're throwing not necessarily an axe, but a knife, I didn't know that you threw it from the actual blade versus the handle.
Mm-hmm.
So much science behind it. Like he was talking about rotations of the knife and distance and even like holding it right here by your ear, making sure your elbow's a certain way. And it was a really good lesson, if I ever had to do that. So yeah, and we also got to shoot some pretty insane guns a couple weeks ago. That shit was insane.
Really?
I'm not a huge gun person, but I got to think of the names. One of them was called like a Black Hawk 300. It's like a rifle, semi-automatic rifle with a silencer on the end.
Nice.
And then there was one on the tripod, like the big tripods that are on the back of the trucks.
Yeah.
With the bullets
Mm-hmm.
that are like and whatever. We shot one of those. And dude, that was like the most powerful thing I've ever been behind. Just
damn, that is awesome.
Yeah, we shot the same gun that Rick uses, the Python. That was awesome, the revolver and cocking it back. And that one's got a lot of power to it. So I've done some pretty cool stuff just training for the show.
Now that was like rehearsal training that you're talking about.
Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah. Like making sure you know what you look like you're doing.
Okay.
Because one thing on this show is. I was holding a rifle in episode 16. We actually shot blanks. I don't know if they got coverage of that, but we shot blanks, and they were like, it's very important that you look like you know what you're doing, because otherwise people are going to call you out on it. It's just true. And there's a couple scenes too where some of the saviors, some of the extras were shooting like us without even like thinking about it. They had the guns pointed at us and they were shooting blanks, but if they would have gotten the coverage of that, we would have been dead.
Yeah.
Where they were at. So you got to make sure that you get all that stuff. That's part of the choreography, making sure everybody knows how they're holding it and proper way to, all that stuff. So
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I was in the van driving back to set, and I was like, so why is everybody freaking out about that guy? Who's somebody I should know? And he's like, all the girls are like, that's Zach Brown, and I'm like Zach Brown band, Zach Brown? And they're like, yeah, duh. And I'm just like, oh my God! Like that guy just came out here, and we were in the middle of the woods too. It was funny. He showed up on an ATV and just disappeared in an ATV, and he just literally he came from the woods. And yeah, the cool story. He came, showed us how to throw knives, and then gave us a couple axes and headed out. That's the only souvenir I have right now, but I've also gotten a couple custom toy makers. I have a Funko Pop. Somebody made an action figure.
There's a guy named Rob Mack, I believe it is. He makes a lot of customs. Is that him? All right, yeah. He's known. He makes a lot of the customs. There's some I've seen that he done. I'm like, oh, that is really cool.
So he made one for Eduardo, and it's funny because somebody tweeted it at me, and he does it in the packaging that the McFarlane toys would be in, or close to the the official ones. And his isn't official, but at the time I was like, what the fuck? Is this in store? Is this in Walmart? Can we go to Walmart and get this right now? Can we go to Walgreens? Where is this shit? We gotta find this, right? We gotta buy 20 of them. And I was doing some research, and I was like, okay, he made a custom thing, but such an honor to be thought of to make a toy out of me, and then hopefully one day that'll be a mass-produced type thing for McFarlane or whatever. But yeah, and even the Funko Pop was awesome. A couple people, the lady who did it, she Funko Boss Custom. I guess she's the one that made the Daryl Dixon prison jumpsuit.
Okay.
And that's where she kind of really skyrocketed with her followers. She makes really good quality Pops packaging and everything.
No kidding.
And, I know a bunch of people bought some of the EDUARDO ones, and she sent me one too, and we have it in our my mom's house. So
okay, maybe after an explosive season 8, I bet, because if they were going to, I mean, it's got to be season 8. I mean, shit, they're going into a war. It's just
there's people there for sure that they could definitely make a toy out. Yeah.
That is great. During the break of season 8, I would love if we talked, and I think the fans would love this too, about the experiences that happened fresh from that season. So we would watch the first season 8, and then if there was one episode that you were in heavily, we could discuss maybe some of what it was like filming that episode and things like that. I'd have a lot of fun doing that.
That sounds like a really good idea. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thanks, brother. I appreciate you having me. And like I said, I'm a fan of your channel. And when we got connected on Twitter, I thought that was great because I watch your videos and I'm definitely a fan. And I know you're the right guy for this kind of stuff. You appreciate the show, and you're a true fan of this genre and this show, and you're going to represent it right. So
hell yeah. No, I really appreciate it. Massive thank you for being the first.
I never went through that college admission. I went to LA cause I had a mission. I never paid up that college tuition. I was recording and filming auditions. I was down, I came up, had to get my name up. They say why you change, I was tired of the same stuff. Working all the time, I feel so lonely. I chose making money over homies. Girls upset cause they don't get to know me. Would've loved to hold me, but this is brand new, and I love